Howdy folks. Today we are doing more than taking a walk. Today we're going to actually take a deep dive into a critical component that all backcountry enthusiasts should know. Today we're talking about risk management. I know what some of you are thinking. Risk management? Jeremy, have you completely lost your mind? That sounds like something for a boardroom, not a backcountry trail. Well, I got to tell you, the principles are exactly the same, whether you're talking about a corporate merger or navigating a complex trail system. I mean, we all know the basics of trail safety, right? Before you head out on any adventure, you're supposed to check the weather, make sure you've got enough food and water packed, let somebody know where you're headed, and bring a first aid kit, right? Think of that as risk management 101. It's assessing the obvious, right? You look at the potential hazards, you assess the likelihood of what could and could not happen, and then you put controls in place to prevent them, right? That's the rain gear, that's the emergency communicators, making sure your phone's fully charged, packing enough food and water, those sorts of control measures. Those are the preparations that you can do prior to heading out. Those are fantastic control measures, and it's exactly what you should do. But here's where it gets interesting, and quite frankly, where most of us, even the most experienced hikers, tend to fall short if they're not prepared correctly. And that's, what do you do when plans change? Because inevitably, they will change, right? Nature doesn't have the same agenda you have. Just because you decided to go for a hike today doesn't mean the weather is going to cooperate or the trail conditions are going to be as ideal as you had hoped they would be. So where most folks fall short on their risk management is adapting their skills when the inevitable happens. And that's what I want to dig into today. Consider this for a little perspective. In 2024, in a heavily trafficked state like Colorado, there were 3,000 search and rescue incidents recorded. That's according to the Colorado Search and Rescue Association. That's a staggering amount of times that a hiker found themselves having to make an emergency call for help because of a life-altering decision that happened on the trailhead. So imagine this, you're halfway through a 5-mile loop trail. The sun was out, it was a beautiful day when you started. Then the skies darken, you hear thunder in the background, and you know the weather is getting ready to change. Or maybe you've got a twinge in your ankle that wasn't there. And what was going to be a pleasant descent on the backside of the loop now might turn into kind of a dangerous situation. This is the real life example where our proactive planning needs to turn to reactive decision making. That is at the heart of risk management. So what do we do in this situation? Well, the first principle of risk management is identification. You need to quickly and accurately identify the risk. Is that just a passing shower, or is it a full-fledged storm that's going to be rolling in? Is that ankle pain just a sore ankle, or could it potentially be a sprain? Don't minimize the potential danger, but also don't panic. You just need to identify it and acknowledge that it's real. Next, we're going to assess the impact and the likelihood, right? If we're talking about the storm, what's the worst thing that could happen if you push on through a storm? Hypothermia? Lightning strike? Could you slip and fall on a rock and break an arm? If it's your sore ankle we're talking about, what's the impact going to be if you continue on your hike? Is it going to slow you down where you might not reach your destination in time? Is it going to cause additional pain and discomfort, or is it going to become a more serious life-altering injury if you don't address it? The assessment isn't about fear. It's about understanding what the true potential impact could be. Once you've identified and assessed, that's where your response strategies come in. And that's where you start to get some options. Your original plan might have been to complete the loop. But now with the coming storm, you've got new plans. How severe is that storm going to be? Does it mean you need to take shelter immediately? Maybe turn around and head back the way you came? Or if you have your trail map or you're familiar with the area, is there an alternate route you can take to shorten your trip? Or in a case of the ankle, do we need to stop and apply first aid? Or is just resting going to be enough for the ankle? Or is it severe enough that you need to make a phone call for help? Speaking of plans changing, that's our trail. I don't think I'm getting across that today, which means we are headed downriver to find another crossing. Real life examples. So that brings up a good point, and that is flexibility. A good risk manager understands that things aren't constant, right? Plans are going to change, and you have to be flexible with those plans. You need to be able to constantly be assessing and evaluating the environment and the situation around you, and be open and willing to adjust your plans accordingly. Holding on to your original plan when conditions change isn't resilient. It's reckless. And it could lead to some pretty catastrophic situations if you're not careful. Don't be afraid to change plans mid-hike. The loop is still going to be there next time. You don't necessarily have to always accomplish your goal every time you head out. Safety is going to be that number one priority, regardless of whatever else is happening around you. I also want to talk about the importance of communication. And I don't mean communication in the form of letting people know where you're going, which that's important. But when I'm talking about communication in this aspect of risk management, I'm talking about assessing with your team, right? If you're out there hiking with others, let them know what's going on, right? If you're feeling uncomfortable about a trail or the weather, voice that opinion. If you're starting to have some aches and pains you weren't prepared for, let them know. Also, be open and receptive for their communication as well. If you see that a fellow hiker is falling behind consistently and just not able to keep up, maybe it's time to stop and assess the situation. Have that conversation of, is this hike going to work in the time that we allotted? Should we alter our plan? If you find that things are changing more rapidly than you were prepared for, that's when it's time to stop and have that communication. Don't be too proud to ask for help or admit that you may have made a mistake. It's okay. Mistakes happen, plans change. That's where the adaptability comes in. And finally, probably the most overlooked aspect of risk management is the learning and adapting. Right? Every unplanned event or every changed plan is a learning opportunity. It's a chance to learn from our mistakes, learn from our successes, and better plan for our next adventures. I highly recommend you take time at the end of every trip. Assess what went wrong, assess what went right. Use that to help form your plans for your next adventures. That constant growth, adapting, changing, that's what truly makes this adventuring so exciting and makes you a better hiker and more successful every single time you go out. So the next time you hit the trail, remember, risk management isn't about packing the right gear. It's a mindset. It's about being willing to adapt and being able to make tough decisions when everything seems to be falling apart around you. If you can keep that mindset and you can be prepared for the unexpected and be willing to make those tough decisions when the time is right, you're going to have an amazing time out here. And remember, folks, nature is wild. It is ever-changing and always exciting, and we need to be able to adapt to those changes on the fly. So until next time, folks, I hope to see you out there on the trail soon. Let's go for a walk.